All right, so first off, all praise to Yahweh, name of his son, Yahweh Shai, name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops. Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as Prophets of Doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth, and also Shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel, Lord willing, I am of that number. All right, so this video I want to speak a little bit more on the pride and disobedience of Israel, all right, in the past and today. A lot of these videos that you see going up online, a lot of them speak about who the enemies of Israel are, all right, their punishment. But what a lot of people look over is our responsibility, okay, here, all right, reflecting inward, okay. This is what leads to repentance when you reflect on the things that you've done, all right, the wayward path that you have taken against or contrary to Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, all right. And as long as you focus on yourself, all right, that leads to growing in this truth, all right. So let's start here with Ecclesiastes 1 and 9 first. All right, because this has been a story throughout the scriptures. Okay, Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done. Let me start at the beginning. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, when you speak of disobedience and pride, all right, being on Israel, this has been the story of Israel since the beginning. All right, this is why all these things had to come about, including Esau being here to be a whipping stick to the world. All right, all of this had to happen because of the disobedience and pride that got on Israel. Okay, so let's start in Jeremiah 23 and verse 16, which we just did a video on reading. We just did a couple of readings in Jeremiah 23 with the NLT and the Good News translation, because the videos before that we touched on Jeremiah 23 a little bit. All right, so we did a reading, and then now we're going to go back and speak about something a little bit more in detail. So Jeremiah 23 and 16. In the King James, it reads, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts," all right, speaking of Yahweh, all right, "hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain," all right, and we'll get that word for vain in a minute. It says, "They speak a vision of their own heart and not out of the mouth of the Lord." So let's get that in NLT, and then we'll come back and look at that word vain. Jeremiah 23 and 16 in the NLT, it says, "This is what the Lord of heaven's armies says to his people. Do not listen to these prophets when they prophesy to you, filling you with futile hopes. They are making up everything they say. They do not speak for the Lord." And this has gotten a lot of Israel in trouble. All right. We have taken heed to soothsayings, or a lot of Israel has figured out that even though they don't know the truth, a lot of things that these prophets say to them are untrue, which again helps in scattering the flock. All right, I think verse 1 of Jeremiah 23, it says, "What sorrows awaits the leaders of my people or Jeremiah 23:1, excuse me. What sorrow awaits the leaders of my people, the shepherds of my sheep, for they have destroyed and scattered the very ones they were expected to care for, says the Lord. All right. So rather it be the sheep holding up a lie because that's what feels good to them, or some of the sheep figuring out that some of these prophets are lying, so they go elsewhere. All right, they go to other doctrines, they go to other gods, other idols. All right, either way, these false prophets have destroyed and scattered, all right, the ones that they were expected to care for. So again, it if it weren't for the spirit and power of Yahweh and Yahushai, all right, man couldn't even gather Israel back together. All right, it took the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. All right, so let's go back here to the King James of Jeremiah 23:16 and look at this word vain again. It means empty, but we can go back here and look at it. Again, this is what hearing these false prophets make you. All right, they make you vain.
H 1891. Havel. Strong's H 1891. Havel. Havel.
All right, it means to act emptily, to become vain, to be vain. Speaking of the false prophets themselves, all right, to be utterly vain. Okay, but when it comes to them teaching, it says to cause to become vain. All right, to fill with vain hopes or empty hopes or futile hopes. And this is when you sit in front of these people, all right, this is what they make you become. All right, you become like them. Okay. So false prophets, all right, soothsayers. All right, the scriptures also warn of these people in Matthew 7 and Ezekiel 22 and throughout the scriptures. Okay, so let's go to Matthew 7 and start at verse 15. All right, this is all red letter. Okay, the subheading above verse 15 reads, "A tree and its fruit." All right, it says, "Beware of false prophets, which come unto you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." So let's go and look at here's a word for false prophets.
Strong's G 5578. Pseudoprophetes. Pseudoprophetes.
All right, what it looks like is pseudo prophets. All right, false prophets. Okay, outline of biblical usage. It says one who, acting the part of a divinely inspired prophet, utters falsehoods under the name of divine prophecies. All right, a false prophet. Strong's definition gives a couple of examples. All right, it says pretended foreteller or religious imposter. All right, so although they may look the part, although they may sound the part, especially if you don't have the ears to hear the Lord's voice, all right, you're going to follow them because they make you feel comfortable. But as we read in here, all right, the other day, a lot of these things that you find in the scriptures are woe, lamentations, funeral songs, all right, things that aren't particularly pleasing to people's ears. Okay. So these false prophets will come to you with soothsayings, which again could be considered witchcraft. All right, because they keep you comfortable in your complacency. All right, they keep you comfortable staying where you are. All right, on a road that is contrary to the Lord's path. All right. So let's go down here, and again, we're gonna look at ravening wolves. All right, because this is what these people actually are.
Strong's G 727. Harpax. Harpax.
This is a word for ravening. It says rapacious, ravenous. We can look up rapacious really quick because I don't even know what that means. So let's go. This is another example of what my teachers and elders tell you to do. All right, you're supposed to go look up these words. Okay, be honest with yourself when you don't understand something, and go look it up. All right, especially now. This is the information age. Okay, check the Hebrew, check the Greek. You can even go to English definitions. Okay, so define rapacious.
Rapacious.
It says aggressively greedy or grasping. All right. Of course, similar words. It says greedy, covetous. That name or that word right there should perk your ear up. All right. We know how the Lord feels about covetous people. Okay. Materialistic is another similar word. Predatory. All right, and that's what these people do. They use these soothsayings, all right, to prey on you. You can use churches as an example. All right, they pass around that collection plate once, twice, 3 times a day. Then they also have more than one service a day. All right, predatory. All right, and if somebody is stealing from you, okay, and you know that they are stealing from you, it's not really theft. All right, that's just you. Again, wanting to be complacent or being complacent in your simplicity. Okay. Money grubbing is another similar word to this rapacious. Right, extortionate. Opposite words, generous. Okay. So these people are money grubbing, covetous, greedy wolves. Let's go in here and get the word for wolves. All right.
Strong's G 3074. Lucas. Lucas.
All right, of course, definition 1 says a wolf, okay? Definition 2 says metaphor of cruel, greedy, rapacious, destructive men. And we just spoke about that first verse in Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter. Let me man, I'll just grab it from the computer. All right. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. Okay, so destructive men. That's why he compared them to wolves, ravening wolves at that. All right. So let's go back here now and read more of Matthew chapter 7. Okay. Start at 15 again. It says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, all right, seemingly docile, okay, again, using pleasing words, okay, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? So let's look at this word for fruits. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Let's see what this.
Strong's G 2590. Karpas. Karpas.
Outline of biblical usage. It does say fruit. The fruit of the trees, vines of the fields. The fruit of one's loins, i.e. his progeny, his posterity. It says that which originates or comes from something, an effect or result. Okay, so what would come from the ravening wolves? All right, nothing good. Okay, not anyone that follows the Lord will come from listening or sitting in front of these people. Okay, the fruit that they produce are ones like them. Okay, ones that walk the same path as them. All right. Matthew 7:17 now it says, even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Furthermore, speaking to you reap what you sow. All right. You produce what you put out there. Matthew 7:18, it says, a good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Okay, that's not really a good result, and in the result that you should be striving for. But sitting in front of and being one of these false prophets, you are headed for fire, man. Matthew 7:20 simply says, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. All right, and I can read that really quickly again in the NLT. Matthew 7:15 through 7:20. With the subheading being the tree and its fruit. It says, beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit, that is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So really, yeah, their actions can tell who they are too, despite the words that they use. All right, look at someone's actions. As a matter of fact, let me find this verse that the Lord spake. Okay, hold on a quick second here. All right, hold on a second. Yeah, hold on a quick second here. Maybe if I type in That's not it. All right, bear with me for a minute. Okay. Let me, okay. So here in John, I think this is the one that I wanted. This is John 14. I'm gonna read 10 through 12. This is the red letter. Okay. It says, believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very works' sake. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. But the point is, all right, believe me, the 11th verse, believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very works' sake. All right, so a lot of the works that these ravenous wolves put out here, all right, are different than even what they speak. Okay, you have to pay attention to someone's actions also. Okay, so let's go back here to Matthew 7 in the NLT. So again, let's do 16 again. It says, you can identify them by their fruit, that is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, you can also, so you can identify people by their actions. All right. So Matthew 7, 15 through 20. All right. This also points to why paying attention to doctrine is vital. All right. So you got to remember Mark 4. Let's go to Mark 4 really quickly. Mark 4, start at 1. All right, Mark 4 and 1. And we're going to read down through 25. All right, and these scriptures explain themselves when you read down. All right, so I may read this in the King James now and then read it in the NLT right after this. It says the parable of the sower and the soils. So Mark 4 and 1, it says, and he began again to teach by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea, and the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine, singular again, okay, hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow. And it came to pass, as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And other fell on good ground, and did yield fruit, that sprang up and increased, and brought forth some 30, and some 60, and some 100. And he said unto them, he that hath ears to hear, let them hear. All right, so if you can, all right, if you can receive it, then understand this. All right. Mark 4:10, it says, and when he was alone, they that were about him with the 12 asked of him the parable. And he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, but unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables, all right? Those that are without the knowledge, okay? People who aren't meant to hear, they won't hear it, all right? Even if you speak plainly to them, okay? Mark 4:12, it says that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand, lest at any time they should be converted and their sins should be forgiven. So the explanation of the parable of the sower, all right? Mark 4:13, it reads, and he said unto them, know ye not this parable? How then will ye know all the parables, or all parables? It says, the sower soweth the word, and these are they by the wayside, where the word is sown, but when they have heard it, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. How does this happen? By false prophets being one of the instruments. All right. They take these philosophies and they give you soothing words, and immediately right there, all right, the what was sown in your heart, all right, is taken by the deceiver. Mark 4:16, it says, and these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth, for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. And I was just about to mention, these are people who are offended, all right, and speaking the 100% truth of what these scriptures mean. All right, these are people that won't give the names. These are people that won't go into ancient doctrine. All right, as far as, for example, all right, in the ancient days, if you took a virgin, all right, the penalty for that was you had to pay the father so many shekels. And you also had to take care of that woman. All right. It's not like what the R word means today. All right. All the R word meant back in the day was to take, all right, to lay hold of. But people are afraid and they shy away from telling the truth of that. All right. They want to please this world. Okay. So they'll make up some other definition of that ancient custom. Okay. Or that ancient custom or situation. Okay. These are people who will shy away from telling you the truth, shy away from telling anyone the truth, because they don't want to go against the grain of this world. All right. Let's see. Mark 4:18 says, and these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lust of other things entering in, choke the word, and it become unfruitful. These are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word, and receive it, and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60-fold, and some 100. Okay, so these are the different types of effects that the truth has on people, all right, or the different type of people that the truth encounter. All right, so let's get that in the NLT. I might not read the whole thing. I'll just read the explanation. I'll start here at Mark 4 and 13 in the NLT. It says, Then Yahushua said to them, if you can't understand the meaning of this parable, how will you understand all the other parables? The farmer plants seed by taking Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua's word to others. The seed that fell on the footpath represents those who hear the message only to have Satan come at once and take it away. All right, people who just automatically disbelieve what has been shown to them, or what has been explained to them, all right, as a truth. Okay, they just automatically deny it because of the spirit of this world. All right, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So this place has a wicked spirit. So Mark 4 and 16 now. It says the seed on rocky soil represents those who hear the message and immediately receive it with joy. But since they don't have deep roots, they don't last long. They fall away as soon as they have problems or are persecuted for believing Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua's word. All right, again, the men of the Lord, okay, we are going to be persecuted for this truth. Okay, and a lot of people don't want to put up with that either. They don't think that telling the truth is worth it. Okay, so they'll go right back to the world. Mark 4 and 18, it says, the seed that fell among the thorns represents others who hear Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua's word. But all too quickly the message is crowded out by the worries of this life, the lure of wealth, and the desire for other things. So no fruit is produced. And the seed that fell on good soil represents those who hear and accept Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua's word and produce a harvest of 30, 60, or even 100 times as much as had been planted. All right. And we're going to visit, we're going to visit Ephesians 4 and 29 next. Okay. In the King James. All right. Ephesians 4 and 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Now, this is not what the false prophets do. This is not what ravening wolves do. Okay? So let's see what edifying is, what the word for edifying is. And corrupt communication is not harsh language. Corrupt communication is anything that leads you away from the path of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, right? That does things that do not edify, all right? And so let's get this word for edify.
Strong's G 3619. Oikadame. Oikadame.
All right, so edifying is the act of building, all right, building up. Metaphor, edifying, or edification. It says the act of one who promotes another's growth in this wisdom, okay, in this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, okay. Yeah, so we help in the building. We participate in the building of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai's knowledge. Okay, the knowledge of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, the body of Yahweh Shai. Okay. So what other word was I going to look for here? Let's read that verse again. Ephesians 4 and 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying or building. Okay. That it may minister grace unto the hearers. So let's see what ministering grace means.
Strong's G 1325. Didomi. Didomi.
This is a minister. It says to give something to someone. Of one's own accord, to give something to his advantage. This is what ministering is. Ministering the word. All right, because when you take this word in, it can't do anything but be for your advantage. All right. It says to supply, furnish necessary things, and we all need the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Lord has left here for us. It says to give or commit to someone something to be religiously observed, to give what is due, to pay wages or reward. And this is us paying the Lord what we owe him. All right, being obedient. All right, it says to cause, give forth from oneself. It says to give, hand out lots. Man. All right, so that's minister. Let's look at another word. Minister unto the hearers.
Strong's G 191. Akuo. Akuo.
All right. Hearers. All right. We always talk about hearing being, hearing and understanding these words of the Lord, all right, to be spiritual power, all right, which it is. So the outline biblical usage of the hearer says to be endowed with the faculty of hearing, not deaf. Okay, it says to hear, to attend to consider what is or has been said. It says to understand, to perceive the sense of what is said. It says to perceive by ear what is announced in one's presence. To comprehend, to understand. All right, it's important. We also know, even though we just read here what hearing is, all right, we know that you can't just be a hearer only. All right, if you are a hearer only and not a doer, which that points back to the works that we just talked about, all right, you're only deceiving yourselves. And again, this is a state that a lot of people are in, a lot of Israelites are in. Okay, so when people hear the word of Yahweh, all right, they either awake to life or become a bigger demon. Now I'm going to check the time, and then we're going to, if we are out of time, all right, Lord willing, we'll be right back, and we'll pick right up with what we just read here. So hold on a second. All right, yeah, I'm going to cut the video there because I try to keep it around a half hour or so because the attention span of a lot of people are cut short by this place, okay? So I hope this came through as sincere and edifying. And with that, all praise to Yahweh, in the name of his son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. All right. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the prophets of doom, These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth, and also shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I am of that number, and Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.